nur nicht Ruhe.
Hi, today I want to talk about M, the 1931 movie directed by Fritz Lang, inspired by real-life serial killer Peter Curtin, known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf and the Dusseldorf Monster, who terrorized Germany in the early part of the 20th century. Watching M and reading about Peter Curtin made me think about some things, such as how could we spot these types of predators among us? Do people who commit these horrible crimes do so of their own free will, or are their actions impulses that are beyond their ability to control? Is pedophilia a disease, or can it be blamed on external factors in the environment? And if the environment does play a role in shaping pedophile behavior, what role does the media play? Do we do enough to protect our children? And if not, do we have the right to judge monsters like Hans Becker in this film? These are some of the questions I would like to go into a little deeper here, but before I start, I would appreciate it if you would like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel at the end of this presentation. Thank you. A girl disappears in a quiet neighborhood. Police come up with a profile, and soon after, a man matching the profile is shot and killed. Later, the missing girl shows up. She had been with her boyfriend the whole time. How do you spot a serial killer? In M. Fritz Lang's 1931 film starring Peter Lorre, a pedophile serial killer is at large, and since no one knows how the killer looks, citizens grow distrustful of each other and the police conduct house-to-house searches. Things go on this way for a while until the police narrow the suspect to the homeless, the mentally ill, the poor, and known criminals. And as it usually turns out, the person responsible for the killings is none of the above. In 1989, Charles Stewart and his pregnant wife were carjacked and shot in a Boston suburb. His wife and unborn child died. He survived. Boston rallied around Charles Stewart, and lawmakers wanted to reinstate the death penalty. Police ran a dragnet for the murder suspect, whom Stewart described as a black male, 6 feet tall, with a raspy voice. Police rounded up black men and intimidated them into giving false statements. Charles Stewart's brother eventually came forward and confessed that Charles had shot his own wife to collect her life insurance policy. And likewise, after the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995, American Muslims from Indiana to California were subjected to verbal and physical harassment. A Jordanian American in London was brought back to America for questioning. But 3 days after the bombing, Attorney General Janet Reno told reporters and the American public that the FBI had found evidence linking American Gulf War veteran Timothy McVeigh to the bombing. Stereotyping often leads to mistakes. In M, no two people can agree on who the criminal is, and it takes a blind man to find the killer. Sight can be misleading when it limits fair judgment on the basis of appearance. The blind man who identifies the killer reminds us that we cannot always trust something by how it looks. You finally make up your mind to quit smoking. It's difficult, but after a month you tough through all of the physical discomfort. Now you have to deal with the psychological struggle. The old habit follows you wherever you go. The secondhand smoke at the card game. The wall of cigarettes behind the store cashier. The meals you used to cap off with a cigarette. The smoke you used to have with your cocktail. The cigarette you are used to having after making love. Finally, you wake up one night and get that pack of cigarettes you stashed away. You smoke one and instantly the tension leaves your body, and then you can think again. This is the power of temptation. In M, Fritz Lang's 1931 thriller, Hans Becker calls his sickness a stalker that follows him wherever he goes. Like a heroin addict, Hans' desire for children is so powerful that it causes him pain. Killing children not only alleviates his pain, it also gives him a rush comparable to what a junkie feels shooting directly into a vein. Hans is powerless over his actions. The power that controls him is desire, the same power in the candy he uses to tempt his victims. In Stanley Kubrick's 1971 film A Clockwork Orange, a prison experiment called aversion therapy changes the nature of a criminal so that he is no longer free to do good, but forced to do so. In M, Hans Becker blames his impulses to stalk and kill children, particularly little girls, on the disease. But could his disease also be blamed on his environment? Let's use our present society as an example and start with children's clothing. Clothing that draws attention to children's body parts, decorative stitching on the chest of girls' blouses, logos and sequin designs on back pockets, black and red dresses in see-through lace, cinched dresses, shiny dresses with see-through necklines, pants or bottoms as they are called today, with bright stitching outlining the breasts and buttocks, skin-tight leggings, ripped boyfriend jeans, super sweet skater dresses with all-over shine and sparkly neck details, booty shorts, wrap dresses, and even shape-up shoes. Then there's the underwear, thong bikinis, and the black and red panties done in lace. You can see all of this and more on the sites of major retailers. Dancing is another way in which children are conditioned to see themselves as sex objects. There is a popular dance called twerking, in which a female squats down and moves her buttocks back and forth like she is having sex. Twerking is the street name for this dance. In strip clubs, they call it lap dancing. Twerking has been popularized by famous athletes and music artists like Serena Williams, Miley Cyrus, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, and others. And at any cookout, family get-together, or party, you are likely to see children and their parents twerking. There's a video on YouTube of a mother and her toddler twerking together like they are having sex. Additionally, there are the glamour makeup kits for little girls complete with eyeshadows and mascara, bronzes, and lip gloss. And let's not forget today's movies that depict children as being smarter and more mature than their parents. In a society that pressures children to see themselves as adults, adults are also being conditioned to see children as adults. In M, Becker has no trouble finding his victims. There is only one scene in the film where the presence of an adult saves a child from becoming a victim, but in all other cases, Becker's victims are alone and unsupervised. The police warn mothers in the film to protect their children, but do we today do enough to protect our children? Comparing today's society to this film, we can see that art truly does imitate life. Since the invention of smartphones, everything from hate to pornography and even predators like Hans Becker have access to our children. There are a lot of good things on the net, but you have to remember that if you give a kid a choice between broccoli or cake and ice cream, more than likely he or she will choose the latter. M concludes with Hans Becker being judged by criminals, the public, including the mothers of his victims, and ultimately the legal system. But are we as a society any better than Hans Becker? Are we, in a sense, murdering our children by supporting companies that sell clothes that make our children look sexy, by letting our children twerk and dance provocatively, by letting our children listen to music with sexual lyrics, by letting our little girls paint their faces to look like grown women? Are we any better than Hans Becker? I don't know.